time to strap in and get ready. The leaders in NRL Supercoach are incoming. Bringing you the ultimate insight to help you win your leagues and climb up the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight NRL Show with your hosts, Brain, Mattrix, and Whisperer.
Yes, welcome back to the Insight NRL Show. We've got round 8 of NRL Supercoach in the books. It's all done and dusted for this weekend, and that's why we're here. We're going to talk you through the weekend of football. I'm the SC Brain, and the SC Mattrix is with me. Matty, how was your weekend, mate? We had a little public holiday, 3 games of footy on a Thursday. Did you rip in?
Oh, enjoyed that. Got up super early and had a little nap during the day. So yeah, that was a ripper. I did have to go to work on Friday and Saturday, which ruined it a little bit. But you know what? Played a bit of touch footy and mowed the lawn. Did a bit of maintenance. Got on the barbecue today. It's all looking up.
It's all coming up, Matrix, by the sounds of things. Very good. Yeah. So what did I do on Thursday? I think I just sat back and just watched all 3 games of footy and had a few beers, and that's pretty much where it ended for me. I didn't really do too much, but I had way too many beers last night, and I'm still like, now that we're in our 30s, it's like hangovers last twice as long now. So fuck, I'm feeling a bit rough tonight. So bear with me. But guys, the show is brought to you by the Standard Squeeze and Ryan from Astute Newstead. As always, let us know how you went in the comments, because there are some monster scores floating around. I've seen a 1,540, I think I've seen in one league, which is huge. I've seen a few big ones in the comments as well. Was popping off before we even came on. Here we go. Jamie Krause scored 1,589 this week, and I think that's probably the biggest that I've seen so far.
Oh, good luck. I was going to say somebody will have probably scored 1,500, having I think all 5 or 6 guys that got hundreds. So yeah, you're in good stead, Jamie.
Absolutely. How'd you score in the end, mate? How'd your team go for the weekend?
2286 in AFL.
Yeah, good. maybe that was the trick. Maybe I should have been talking about AFL the first 5 or 6 rounds.
Yeah.
How about NRL?
1,055, and look, there's some people having a crack at me in the comments. I said that Reece Walsh would score more than C&K. So yes, I do owe Ryan Hammond a little 4-pack of bolters. But yeah, look, just didn't pan out. I faded Nico for SJ and captain Reece Walsh, and yeah, brought in Reece Walsh. Only did the 1 trade last week, so at least I'm saving trades. But just all those guys that have been carrying me, like Mulatalo and Bostock, and that just didn't pan out this week. So I think I made all the right decisions.
And look, at the end of the day, you've had a pretty good year up until now. 1 week really isn't going to throw things too far out of the way for you. Like you're 3,000th before this week,
yep.
So you probably still stay in the top 7-8K. I reckon. I don't think it's going to be that bad. But I finally had a decent week, which was nice. I finished with 1357, thanks to going early on Ruben Garrick. Probably one of the better moves that I've done this year. Just a bit of a risk that paid off, because he's not going to drop any cash now, which is amazing. I was actually accepting Garrick to lose 50k, and I'd still be okay with him scoring an 80 or a 90. That would have been okay for me to bring him in. But the fact he got 145 and nearly covered his break even is good, and he'll be one of the most purchased, I think, coming up next week. Also, I brought in.
I don't know if he will now. Like, all the appeal I had with him was the fact that he was going to be dirt cheap.
He's still only 605k.
Yeah, true.
Like, that's pretty cheap for Ruben Garrick. Goal kicking. Manly have some. They've got Para. They had Para this week. They've still got Canberra into the Dolphins the next fortnight. So I think he's still going to be someone that people are going to be looking at. But yeah, again, there's a few names we'll throw around at centre wing, because it's going to be a bit of centre wing roulette, I think, coming up over the next few weeks leading into Origin. But yeah, I had Garrick, I captained Nico, obviously, and I had Gus Crichton. Harry Grant finally scored more than fucking 60, so that was lovely of him. So yeah, it felt like one of those weeks where all of the initial picks that I made to start the season now starting to kind of pay off, which has been nice. We'll dive in and we'll start talking about these games and all the Supercoach scoring. But before we do that, we're obviously still running this promotion where you can win yourself some Insight Fantasy Sports apparel. All you need to do is you need to go onto either Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us a 5-star rating, leave a comment on there, and you'll go in the running to win either a shirt, a beanie, or a hat. With Spotify, make sure you send us your review, screenshot it, and send it to us because we can't actually see on our end who it is. Apple will see it if you leave a comment. So you can. How many entries can people get max in this Mattrix?
10. So 5 through Apple, and then 5 through Spotify. Screenshot, let it through, get 10 entries, and have a win.
On all 5 of our shows.
Yep. Yeah, on all 5. So that's NBL, AFL, NRL, NBA, and BBL. So
and there's the World Cup obviously going on at the moment. So BBL and NBL will be very relevant later on in the year, for sure.
Can I grab a question from the comments? Small question. You're in your 30. Isn't it time to let the hats go? You're not young and hip anymore. Sun safety is a massive thing. The way that I'm wearing this, I do not get moonshine on my neck. And also, I've evolved from flat caps in my 20s to corduroy caps. So, that's what happened when I hit 30.
Fashion statement, isn't it? And also, hats are really good for people like me who have receding hairline, and you don't see that then, especially if you start to lose.
Does that make it more relevant in your 30s than less relevant?
You know what? Maybe it does. Maybe it does. So you haven't convinced us to stop wearing hats. Sorry, mate. Let's dive into this game, shall we? The first game of the round was Thursday, 2 p.m. What an afternoon that was. The Gold Coast Titans notching up their first win of the season against the Warriors in New Zealand. Who would have ever picked that?
Not me. 100% not. This was where some of my vice captains come, and some of those guys bringing in Dallin Watene-Zelezniak as well. But you know what? Titans look good. Desi had it a bit worked out. Who knew? Maybe it just took 8 weeks for... Yeah, they've looked like a football team probably the last 3 weeks. I was probably just being a bit rough.
Yeah, 100%. It's weird, isn't it? Because it's these games where you think, the Warriors are sweet. They'll be at home. They're in pretty good form. They're playing good footy, and they're coming up against the Titans who are poor. But the Titans played like they had nothing to lose. And I don't know. You correct me if I'm wrong here, but they look such a better football team with Brimson at the back.
Yes. Yeah, it's just a bit of strike power. Like Jaden Campbell hasn't looked good in the limited minutes we've seen him play this year. But you know how much I love AJ. And you know what? Tanner Boyd looks revived, like he got a swift kick up the arse, by being dropped. And he looked dangerous with the ball too, which is something I've never really seen him look. So,
a lot of the time we see Tanner Boyd trying to do this organising role, but the last fortnight he started playing some great footy when he started running the ball a lot more, like just attacking gaps and being a little bit more aggressive in the way that he ran. So good to see him playing good footy. David Fafita and Aiden Fanua-Blake were the two that topped the tons in this one. 126 for Fafita. We said last week he's bottomed out in price, so this is as cheap as we're ever going to get him. And now we see that he will go up in price. He had a break even of 87, so he will go up another 35k roughly. So he's going to be about 810,000 next week. So now if you don't have Fafita, you kind of need to let him through to the keeper now at that price being so close to Origin.
Yeah, I think so. He's somebody that if maybe bottomed out, I would have grabbed, but I think there'll be a lot of people going to grab him in round 20. But look, right now, you couldn't get him until he'd come back from his injuries and the Titans looked a bit better, but now you sort of missed the boat. So, a bit disappointing that, we won't all own Fafita, but we won't all own Fafita. So.
Nah. And what about Adam Fanua-Blake? I guess the same kind of conversation starts to happen with him, although no Origin. So very positive there, but he will now be 720k next week, 730k. He is the form front row forward in the competition and the guy that was very well purchased last week. Does he still become an option, or do we just need to accept the fact maybe we've missed him at that price?
Yeah, you missed him. This was the week to get him. I know I said in my Q&A that I don't want to waste trades on front row forwards. And look, I'll cop this one on the chin, but basically when you add Adam Fanil-Blake for what 720k or 740k, even getting closer to, and he gets you 340s in a row. Yeah, just be aware that he can do that.
And he's scoring so well by scoring tries. And every single week we say he won't continue to score tries. It's like the Wade Egan effect from last year. He won't keep scoring tries, and he just keeps scoring tries.
Yeah.
He scored a double this week.
Saka.
Yep, 100%.
Except front row forwards don't score tries usually. Like, yeah, look, he hasn't done like he has been a try scoring front row forward his whole career, but not at this rate. And I would put money on the fact that it's not going to keep going. So.
Yeah, you're probably right. Talk to me about SJ, mate. What's your plan with him? You know, you've got SJ instead of Nico. Are you going to now have to just fork out the cash, or are you going to just forego Nico and just ride Johnson?
Well, is this the week that SJ heads into Broncos Panthers, or is that the following week?
Good question. Let me have a look.
Hey, get it up.
Yeah, okay, there you go. So they've got Knights into the Roosters the next 2 rounds. Knights at McDonald Jones and the Roosters at Accor, or Allianz, sorry. So they're playing 2 games away from home, which is going to be tough. Then they're going to Suncorp for Magic Round to play the fucking Panthers.
Yeah.
So like the next 3 games they're traveling. They're not back at home until round 12 against the Dolphins. So I think you might need to pull the trigger and just get Nico in now.
Yeah, I'd planned on keeping him for this matchup, which he did well, even in a losing team. And I'd planned on keeping him for the Knights matchup. I was going to see how the Roosters were going, and the plan was going to get rid of him, sort of death ride Nico a little bit, which had worked this year. Like, in all honesty, that's probably why I'm at 3,000th. And, I know you and Josh have Nico and why you were sort of struggling a little bit. But, yeah, look, it turned, and we know Nico can do this. And, yeah, I tell you what, I was watching through slits, and in my eyes, I was happy when I saw Nico at 45 at halftime. But, yeah, it's just time to go get the form guy rather than SJ, I think, now. So,
yeah, he's taken time to get going, but Nico is going. And, yes, there is a chance that he potentially plays Origin. He might get picked in the 6. We don't know what Madge Maguire is going to do for New South Wales, considering new coach, anything could happen. But
yep.
I still think there's enough time before Origin that you worry about that at 13. So CNK was great, 90. So, we said he was definitely a good option a couple of weeks ago. So he's actually started to peel out some real consistent scores. Good base as well. And AJ Brimson, 94. Again, pretty good at the back. We spoke about him maybe being a potential option on Tuesday last week. But then I went back and had a look at his numbers, and he actually averages better at 5'8" than he does at fullback, which is really strange. And then he comes out and proves me wrong and scores 94. So anyway.
But we did know that the Warriors leak a lot of points to fullbacks. We say it every week. So.
Yeah, you're right. It was a good matchup. Yeah, it's a good point. RTS 58, not enough to really worry. Yes, they lost. He, again, didn't really do much. No tries, no real attacking stats aside from a line break. The rest was pretty much base power. We've got bigger problems, don't we? You've got other things that you probably want to prioritize than trading out RTS.
He's averaging 60 and you paid 55 for him. He'd been out of the game for a while. I think if the Warriors keep losing, I would be getting one of my best players in Roger Tuivasa-Sheck involved a little bit more. So, look, definitely hold RTS. You've got bigger problems, I presume.
Now, a couple of other mentionable names here. Tamari Martin scored 50. I think that will probably just keep him going for another week or two. So I don't think he's a priority sell, but Max Plath obviously now creates more conversation around that 5'8" position. So I've actually seen some people doing that move, and I think it's a bit sideways. We'll talk about Plath a little bit later. Jamin Jolliffe, though, is interesting. 63. So front row forward, 573K. He's going to be probably 600K now. So he's a little bit expensive for what I would like from a Jamin Jolliffe. But when you look at what he's done this year, 51, 63, 55, 94, 52, and now this 63. He's been really good since Tino went down.
Yeah, and you've got to expect somebody had to step up, and it was Jolliffe. But yeah, if you didn't have him earlier, There's only 1,000 people that have him. I think Josh was talking him up something chronic, which it was a great player. But yeah, look, he's not a get now. You're going to be paying 600K for 60s, basically.
Pretty much. All right, let's move on to the next one. Hey, we've got the Dragons getting thumped by the Roosters 60-18, which rules the Dragons out of premiership contention because there is no team that has ever conceded 50 points in a game and has gone on to win the comp. So the Dragons put a line through them, unfortunately. Sorry to Damo, who's probably in the chat.
I'd already put a line through him, so.
Before the season started?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a Tiger supporter, so I'm allowed to hang shit on other teams because my team's one of the worst. Hamo's asking in the chat, what's par for this week? We've had a few people ask, what do you reckon par is? Like, I've been looking in a few of the bigger leagues that I'm in, and I'm seeing a lot of like 1,200 to 1,400 seems to be the range. It's really hard to get a proper read on that, but I think there's every chance.
But we're in some really good comps. I would say 1150 is par.
Yeah, and we're obviously in some pretty competitive leagues. So, when you take into consideration everybody playing casually, I'd say maybe 1150 to 1,200 might be par this week for sure. Roosters 60, Dragons 18, Sam Walker. Who would have thought that he'd be the highest scoring halfback of the round?
Not me. Look, kudos if you had him. He was 470K. And yeah, it was elite. If you went Cleary to Walker a few weeks ago, you would be absolutely chuffed with this one. Not expecting it every week, of course, but that was the best game I've ever seen Sam Walker play.
He was awesome. He was very good. Not an option, though, when you've got so many good kind of gun players in that position at the moment. Those scores are going to be few and far between. You can't expect that too much from Sam Walker. Angus Crichton, though, continues. The Gus bus just continues rolling on. 119 from him. He just seemed like he was in everything, like work rate through the roof. He had 10 offloads. He had a try assist, a try, 30 tackles, 12 points, 6 tackle breaks, a line break, and 23 points in runs. This is exactly why we were pumping his tires up 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I fully believed when I bought him at whatever he was, 450K or whatever, that I fully believed we would see this Angus Crichton. And it was an absolute pumping, so not expecting it every week. But from what I've seen, if he averages 70 throughout the end of the year, I would not be surprised now. And he's verging on, top 5 second row forward for the rest of the year, I think.
I'd argue he should be probably top 4 to RFs. He's 519K at the moment. He's going to go up to probably 600K this week. Fisher in the chat was asking, is it too late to get on the Gus bus? You've missed a few stops and you had to chase the bus down like 3 or 4 blocks. But is it too late to get on?
Yeah, it's probably the day after the Gus bus left and you turn up hungover with your shoes in your hand and you're at the bus station at 7 o'clock in the morning and Gus bus is there. I think you still hop on. Like, yes, it's embarrassing. Like, it's super embarrassing. You've just done the walk of shame to the Gus bus. But I tell you what, you'd rather just hop on the Gus bus now than be sitting there at the bus station in 3 weeks' time when he is 730K.
And look, we're talking about guys like, spoiler alert, Britton Nickera, who will now start to become an option at 580K. There's 20K difference between him and Crichton, and I'm still picking Crichton over getting in Nickera. So if that gives you an answer, I think Gus is a season-long keeper, and regardless of whether he plays Origin or not, he'll be I'm going to say he'll be a top 4 to RF at the end of the year. Nat Butcher, 107. So the Edges absolutely just tore the Dragons to smithereens in this one. Connor Watson, 92, no relevance there. Dom Young, 88. So he, with his 88, will still lose $100,000 this week with his 184 break even. So he'll be back down to mid 500s. There could very much be a chance that we're picking him up in 2 to 3 weeks' time at 450.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better. Oh, I mean, I wish that he had one of those ones where they just didn't go that way, much like Ronnie went today. But hey, you take it. It could have been dangerous, like scoring 60. I actually would have expected Dom Young to score more. But like, imagine if he had another 40 and the Dragons actually showed up to this one. That could have been 400K in 3 weeks' time.
Yep. There were some big scores in this one as well. I mean, like we're talking about we got 400s in this game and then another 4 scores above 80. 5 scores above 80. Jack DeBellin got 83. Joey Manu, 87. Teddy, 81. You'd be pretty happy with that as a Manu owner, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and Manu does this in the center wing. Like, if they're going really well, he's going to score really well. But really, you've got him to be a captain option all through Origin as well, bearing the fact that Teddy gets picked. But look, Joey Manu will be a great center wing. But yeah, definitely don't look at him. He'll go back down to 700K at one stage throughout the year. Probably even touch 600s. So.
Yeah. Lomax, 62. Look, less than what you paid for him. If you got on this week, you'd be a little bit disappointed. But look, I reckon that's probably close to his floor this year based on what we've seen, especially if he is
garbage
on the
too.
Yeah,
like, he was garbage and he scored 62. So take that.
Yeah, 100%. Now, the question that everybody will be asking us on Tuesday. So let's get to it now. What do we do with Terrell May? Because he only played, I think, 30 minutes or less, 28, 29 minutes in this one. And that's 2 weeks in a row now that we've seen that his minutes have been shithouse. Is it time now? His price has topped out. Are we now in territory where he's going to start to drop some cash?
Yeah, he's going to start to drop some cash. I'm going to hold him. It's probably the wrong call, but I have made this pact in my head that I am not going to be wasting trades at front row forward because it's a low upside position. And if I've paid 400K for a guy that's getting me 29s, do I really have much to... Oh, that gets 29 in his worst game. Am I really worried? Probably not. I also know that he's extremely talented, and I'm thinking that with all the trade outs this week, that he could even go into pod territory at some stage. So, yeah.
And also, we've got Lindsay Collins is going to be playing Origin. So, in 2 to 3 weeks' time, Terrell May then probably gets an uptick in minutes through the Origin period. So there is every chance there that he becomes relevant again through that period. It's just a matter of, can we cop the next 4 weeks of him losing cash? We looked at 2 bad scores in a row. Josh has said in the chat he thinks that you should hold because he's 1 injury away from going from 30 to 70. And it is a good point. With Collins in Origin, and then looking at this forward pack as well, I don't think Robbo even knows what he's doing week to week. So, it might be a hold for another week. And also the problem is, who are you going to? Like, you've got to either upgrade to a keeper, or who are you downgrading to? Like Samuel Afinu, who scored 27 in 70 minutes with a sin bin this week.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean, it's not the answer. I mean, he's my front row forward 1. Let's put that out there. Terrell May, he's my front row forward 1, but I'm okay with it. I'll just need more from my center wings and more from me going to have 1.7K in halfback. Like, I'm just spending it elsewhere.
Yep, agreed. All right, let's get on to the Storm. Another 50-point drubbing, 54-20, beating the Rabbitohs. So the Rabbitohs are now out of contention as well for winning the competition, but that's not news to anybody this year, I do not think. Cameron Munster, though, 148, back to relevance now at 5'8", after everyone is starting to write him off with that groin injury. It's just, is it too close to Origin now to look at him, knowing that he's probably going to miss some time through that period?
Yeah, it is. Like, he's definitely going to play Origin. He's the sort of guy that can cruise if he's a bit tired, or, obviously he wasn't 100% when he come back, and he sort of cruised through those first couple games. I love Munster. I love Munster as a 5'8". I think I'll finish the season with Munster as a 5'8". I won't be touching him until after Origin. So.
Yeah, I think so. And look, there's a couple of 5'8" options. One specifically putting his hand up right now that's still relatively cheap. So I'd probably rather go with Plath with his role and what's happening with him at the moment, and just bank that 50 in base every single week at 5'8", and 5'8's a shitty position at the moment anyway. So, yeah, agree with you on that. Harry Grant 95. Back to what we know Harry Grant can do. Hughes 95, Pappenhausen 92. So all pretty solid from the spine there from the Storm, which is obviously why they put up a ton of points in this one. Eli Katoa 78 as well. So pretty solid for him. He's 703K, and he'll probably hold his price or pretty close, maybe drops like 5-6K. But are we looking at the cheaper options now? Are we looking at the Britton Nickeras or even Gus Crichton if you haven't jumped on, or those guys around that 600K mark, or would you go spend up for Katoa?
Look, I think if you're buying this week, I think you've sort of... Eli Katoa was going to go up in cash and you jumped on. I think that he will drop back down to 630, 640 and you'll get better value, and you could sort of get the same output out of some of those guys that are 600K at the moment. Just spending wisely and buying guys at the right time will probably save you 600 or 700K throughout the year. Yeah, get Eli Katoa another week. But I think Eli Katoa is a guy we're going to want in our teams come the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, everybody picked him up when the Storm's draw was actually pretty friendly leading up to this point. I mean, they had the Souths this week. They've got the Titans next week. So beautiful matchup. Sharks are definitely, even today, they played some good footy, but they're prone to leaking points at the best of times.
Yep.
And they're also playing them at Amy Park. So that'll be a tough trip for the Sharks down to Melbourne.
Yep.
Then they've got Para and Manly into Origin. So like the next 5 weeks for this, the next 4 weeks for the Storm into Origin is very nice. So, I mean, if you do want to jump on Eli Katoa, I wouldn't say that it's a bad move. Any other relevance in this game, mate? We've got Joe Chan. He is going to continue to make us some money, which is lovely of him.
Yeah, Joe Chan was great. He just seems to pump out 40 from the bench, which is what you want. I was jumping for joy when I saw he got named on the bench. But, yeah, apparently he was a hold. And I suppose if you're looking at the Rabbitohs, Cam Murray can still be relevant in a losing Rabbitohs team. So that's important to note.
Yeah, and it seems like the minutes are up a little bit for Cam Murray, which is nice. Jason Demetriou finally worked out that he needs to play his best player in the middle of the park, which is good. I'm just trying to look through this list. When you see Damien Cook score 29 and Mamazella score 14, for the Rabbitohs, like when your whole hooker position is putting up 43 points, it's you must have been doing a lot of standing under the posts, which is exactly what they did this game.
Gagai,
I guess
maybe. I mean, if you held Gagai, congratulations, you got stuck in a position, and you might make some cash. So.
There was a question on Gagai from Stephanos earlier in the show. Do we think Jacob Gagai keeps his spot? It's hard to know, but I'm going to say no. I think with Alex Johnston, I think he's due back in a week or two. So we're definitely going to get at least one price rise from Gagai, and it should be a pretty significant one, which is good. But I would say he drops out in 2 weeks for Alex Johnston when he's fit again. Do you agree?
Yeah, he's going to drop out for AJ. I walked away because I don't care about Gagai, but
that's fair enough.
I mean, like, sure, great if you accidentally had to hold him. He might make you 100K, but yeah, he's not going to be relevant. You're probably not even going to be game enough to play him. So Josh said Milne with a question mark in the comment. Is there a chance potentially Milne drops out and Gagai stays? Based on what we've seen from him in the first 2 games, he's been fucking awesome. He's been so much better than Milne. Yeah, but it's still Jason Demetriou. And, like, there's just something about Tane Milne that he must have photos of someone because he just gets named all the time. And I'm not sure I've ever seen him play too many good games. So,
yeah.
Like, common sense says that, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and he always finds a way to do something fucking dumb every single week to put his team under the pump as well. Like cannonball tackles and all this dumb shit. Like, so he's going to probably miss some time for that taken out of the legs. Ian Johnson just mentioned here in the comments, Milne suspended for 2 weeks. So, like, we get 2 weeks minimum of Gagai, but realistically, maybe he holds on to it. until we've got what's Tyrone Munro come back, but he's got a broken collarbone, so there's a few weeks there.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I won't be
I
touching
guess
him.
the question's going to be, if you don't have him, do you buy him next week? Because he's on the
No.
bubble and he's going to make big coin.
No.
Okay. All right. So lock him in for 100 next week?
100%. He is going to score 140. Captain him next week if you own him. Yeah, I won't be buying him.
Yeah, you're not getting him versus Storm. I mean, like, you're only getting him for cash. You're not playing him against
exactly.
Melbourne. But anyway. Let's go to the next one, mate, because there's a lot of relevance in the Sea Eagles and the Eels game. 32-18, Manly take this one out. They were down and came back. Ruben Garrick, 145, the big talking point. If you went early, good on you. We spoke about him a little bit at the start of the show, so we won't talk too much about Garrick. But there was a couple of questions. Josh mentioned it as well as Swift AU. Will Daly Cherry Evans and Ola Kawatu be suspended from that tackle with Lane? And will that affect Garrick's scores if they miss some time? I guess an extra bit to this is that Phil said that Phil Unfiltered in the chat, big Manly supporter, knows his stuff when it comes to Manly. And apparently Manly are challenging this legally, this decision. So it may very well be overturned. Who knows? But they're going to find out in the next couple of days, I think.
I think the answer is yes to the question. I think if Ola Kawatu and Daly Cherry Evans is out, then that does affect Ruben Garrick negatively. And yeah, Ruben Garrick is still a good price. He's still going to be a good buy, but maybe not necessarily for next week. So,
yeah. Every chance he bottoms out now with that 145 and his rolling average, his price is now just going to start to go back up. So yeah, you're getting on him for just purely because he's a hold in the center wing for the full season, right? Like, he's one of those guys you just lock in and go, yeah, he can stay there.
Top 5. Yeah. It has to be a top 5. If he's not let's loosen this up a little bit. If he's not a top 7 center wing at the end of the year, I'll eat my hat. So, because
spicy from you as well.
Because I shouldn't be wearing a hat anyway because I'm in my 30s.
Yeah. Fuck. It's going to be in my head now. I need to do my hair before a podcast, which is like way too much effort. In this one, Gutho 95 after everyone traded him out. But again, like, Gutho was playing against the team that leaks the most Supercoach points to fullbacks in the competition.
Yep.
So whilst Manly put up some points, they definitely concede them, especially the fullbacks. So Gutho with the goal kicking, as well as the fact he's in a prominent role there. 95 for him. Not an option anymore, though, just with these lingering knee issues. So I'd be staying away from him. But the Whisperer, his best mate, Mike Acevo, with an 83, including a sin bin and a hat-trick, and probably, I wouldn't say cost the Eels the game, but he definitely played a pretty negative part towards them losing this one.
Yeah. Yeah. And should see some weeks on the sidelines, I think, for that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You think, you were talking about somebody in the last game that just, Tane, that just does dumb things that cost their team points. Like, you start to wonder about these guys, and Sevo just got dropped. And I know Tane's got dropped and stuff in the past, but like, how many games must these guys just knock their own team down a peg? But there was some individual brilliance there from Sevo as well. So,
Matthew Sherwood in the chat wants to know if Sevo. There was a question here that
Sevo will buy when he comes back.
agencies. Sevo will buy when he comes back.
Maybe if Moses is back.
Yeah, look. We don't even know where Moses is. Apparently, he's still in a moon boot up until last week. So
yeah,
I think that was a good 10 to 12 week layoff for him. So yeah, we're probably not going to see him until probably round 14, maybe. Yep. But yeah, guy that can score a hat trick is always an option, and he's got 53, 74, and 83 with a bin. So he's been scoring relatively well.
Yep. What about 440k Matto at 64?
Yeah, is this now is he coming back into relevance now? Probably bottoming out or getting close to it. I can't see Matto going sub 400k. I mean, if would you grab him if you did?
Yeah, 100%. If you can get a lane to Matto or someone like that, and them be your second row forward 5 or 6, then 100%. I'm going to need to see a little bit more because he still has a 3-round average of 34 at the moment and a 5-round average of 36. But hey, he's on my watch list now. So.
I'm not touching him. Only because Bryce Cartwright's out. He played 80 minutes on an edge. So what happens when Cardi comes back? He goes back to that fucking 30-minute bench role that he's had all year.
Yeah,
they're not dropping Hopgood. He played 73 minutes in the middle. He'll do that most weeks. And
they should drop Lane.
Yeah, Josh said that in the chat just then. Might be worth getting rid of him. Yeah. Lane is pretty much putting his hand up to be dropped from my Supercoach team this week. I'm thinking a Lane to Nickera trade is on the cards this week. I've got cash in the bank for it. He's been disappointing, Sean Lane.
Yeah, and I wouldn't, call you Brad Arthur either, but Lane's putting his hand up for Brad Arthur to drop him as well.
Yeah, you just don't. No, I don't know what BA is going to do. I'm not going to pretend. But another person putting their hand up to be dropped is our mate Joey Lussick, who now has to contend with Brendan Hands on the bench again out of nowhere. So what do we do with that? Everybody's going to have him as their hooker too, right? So do we just let him just rot on the bench, or do you try and upgrade him now that he's peaked in price at 450K?
I think if you have Harry Grant, you need a hooker that you can play in some games going forward. Are you okay with playing Joey Lussick is a question that you've got to ask yourself in and around that origin period. If not, you might just need someone to play, and maybe it's worth getting a Jaden Brayley or somebody like that who seems to be playing a bit better footy at the moment.
I agree. I think I'd love to be able to have the cash to go Joey Lussick up to Jeremy Marshall-King. Considering the Dolphins play all 3 major bye rounds, I think that he's a target for me. If I can have Harry Grant and JMK, I know it's a lot of money to spend at hooker, but then I just don't have to worry about it for the rest of the year. And I'll be sweet through Origin. So, yeah, that's one thing I'm looking at. Or you got Jaden Brayley there now, who's doing a decent job. So there's your downgrade if you needed it.
Yep. No, 100%. Dillbacks? Is he an option anymore? He's had a break even of 50 and he's scoring 60s now. At least you're paying 60 for his 60s.
Like, look at the trade. Yeah, first trade. 591 people traded him in. 690 people traded him out. Like, it's one of these fucking weird positions that he's in at the moment because everyone's really disappointed in him. But now is the time to buy him, not sell him. The problem is the Eels are on the bye next week. So, but all of these Eels conversations can wait a week if you really have other problems. But yeah, look, I would be saying if someone had Brown in their team, I'd tell them to hold him. But if they didn't have him, I'd be like, fuck, he's probably not a bad buy at this point, to be honest.
Yeah. That's sort of what I'm thinking at 5'8". I'm sitting there with somebody like Strange just sitting there. I'm going to be okay if Dillbags pumps out a 50 and I paid for a 61. I'm not okay when he scores a 50 and I paid a 68. What did we pay? 700 at the start of the year. 75. Yeah. That's when you get disappointed. I'm going to be happy if I have Dillbags going forward. So
yeah, and he's shown us that his base it's basically 50. Like he's not really going to score under 50 for the most part for the rest of the season. And when Moses is back, I think might be the time to probably look at Brown a little bit more seriously. I hate him in the 7 role. Like it just doesn't suit him. But yeah, when Moses is back, it'll free him up a little bit more. We might see the old Dillbags back. Hopefully not the one from the Fiddler. Just like the Dillbags on the footy field. So before we get into the last 4 games for the weekend, guys, shout out to the Standard Squeeze, long-term sponsor of the show. If you're sick of breaking glass bottles, you go to the bottle-o and you got a bottle of vodka and you're ready to rip in and you accidentally drop it on the way to the car. Nothing worse. Standard Squeeze have food-grade quality plastic combo packs where not only is it made of plastic so you can't break it, but it also gives you the perfect pour every single time. You can even get your beer's nice and cold or your coffee's nice and hot. You can see on my YouTube, on YouTube here if you're watching us live. We've got the 4-in-1 cups as well. So you can get all of those stuff on the standardsqueeze.com is the website, and use the code IFS15 to get yourself 15% off. What's the next one, mate? Take us into the next one because I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, 34-10. Broncos took care of the Tigers, which was maybe to be expected. The big ones were Renault and Payne Haas come back, and they come back looking fresh. 86 from Renault, 76 from Payne Haas. Hopefully Renault's all right. We had a couple of the Broncos head off towards the end of the game, but nothing too serious except for maybe Jock Madden, who scored a 76. Not Supercoach relevant, but he might be seeing some time on the sidelines, which, with Ezra coming back, was probably going to see some time in reserve grade regardless. Reece Walsh, 74. That could have very, very easily have been 155. Could it not have?
Yeah, I was at the game. And when the Broncos scored the first couple of tries, I just increased the pace at which I was drinking. And so I didn't really have to suffer too much. I actually left the game with fucking 15 minutes to go because I was over it. But from what you mentioned, Renault and Walsh injuries, I saw on Physio's Twitter that it was pretty severe cramp from what it looked like. So he doesn't think that there's going to be any long-term issues there, which is weird. Like cramping it basically is May now. Like it's starting to get quite cold. And you're cramping 8 rounds into the footy season at Campbelltown. Like it's just a weird thing to happen. So hopefully nothing too serious there for either of those guys. But yeah, you're right. Walsh's could have been fucking massive. Like if Dean Mariner could catch, Walsh has 130. I
know. And as a captainer, I never for a second thought of it as bad score. And I'd actually thought I'd beat Hamo in that bet just by watching it. Because I actually don't check my Supercoach scores while I'm watching Broncos games. I just enjoy it for what it is. At the moment, when they were going bad, I probably checked my Supercoach score. But yeah, look, and then I just looked down and it was like a 75. I'm like, oh, that's not bad. I was probably going to captain Turbo anyway. And then, yeah, Nico does what Nico does. But what could have been? Like, my week would have been saved by Dean Mariner catching good ball.
Pretty much. He was very well purchased, though, to be fair. I don't have the stats on me specifically, but 31,000 teams traded him in this week. So, like, most purchased player by country mile. So, yeah, everybody cops it. Talk to me about this, because I don't want to come across as the one-eyed Tiger supporter, but surely Api Coruscant's fucking try, not disallowed try, was a try.
No, that was a try, 100%. I was celebrating. I've got a 2-year-old, so we just celebrate when people score. It's because it's fun. And then they went to the bunker, and like I did see like maybe a touch of separation, but like in my opinion, unless it touches someone and then you put it down with downward pressure, like you haven't really lost possession. Like his hand just wasn't big enough to hold it. He still pushed the ball down with downward pressure. That's a try.
Yeah, that's my thinking. A few people in the comments are agreeing with us on that one. A bit of bunker incompetence. But look, not the first time, won't be the last time, unfortunately. But it does hurt when you're an Api Coruscant owner and you cop a 36.
And it cost me $50K. And like, kind of, if he scored 36, it makes him a trade out option. But in my head, he should have been on 65. So
to the 1,100 people that traded him out, well played. This week only, it could hurt you in future weeks, but I don't think if you have him, you're trading him out. Are you? Because you're someone that has him. Are you looking at trading him?
I've got him and Joey Lussick. I just am starting to lose a bit of confidence in playing the right hooker when they're both going shit. But yeah, head versus heart. Like my heart just wants to pay up for a JMK or a Harry Grant. But yeah, look, I'm probably just going to hold on because I've got a war chest too. I've got 800K. But yeah, no, I'm just going to be holding on to Appy, I think.
Brendan Piakura was good. First game back, 55. Looked relatively solid. The best part about him is he wears a headgear as well, so I can pick him out like when I'm watching the game, which is great.
Yeah, good.
Try assist for him though as well. So basically 43 in base power. And he had a line break assist there too. So like we always said that his base was never going to be amazing, but it seems like he's just going to fall into attacking stats every week as well. Like, I reckon he's actually not a bad shout because this is probably as cheap as you're going to get him now too. He's going to be about 430k next week.
He's kind of like Sean Lane, but on a good team at the moment. If you're watching the game, I would have thought that he was on more points than he was on. Just because, yeah, but I don't think he's going to get those base stats really. I think he could even fall into being a little bit of a trap, but at this price, it's mad. But if you're bringing him in a few weeks' time at 500k, I'm not sure he's going to be. I don't think he's ever going to touch 600k. There you go. Not this year.
Okay. Yeah, fair call. He's a really good measure of how many inactive ghost teams we have at the moment as well, because he's still 13% owned by 20,000 teams, and he hasn't played football for 5 weeks, and only 380 people traded him in this week. So basically, we've got about 13% of the competition not playing anymore. So that's actually a pretty good guide. What else in this one, mate?
Galvin, 46 in a bit of a shellacking. I'll take that from 5/8, probably my 5/8 one at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's a more than reliable 5/8 if that's the way you want it to go. A lot of people might still have Ethan Strange, and there's going to be questions coming up, and there already have been questions coming up on him, what they do with him when they move him on. So, we've got a couple of suggestions. We'll wait for them at the end, but yeah, Galvin's I reckon he's just a set and forget kind of guy that you can leave. At worst case, you're 5/8 and you just leave him there for the year. So
or when you need a heap of cash and he's 550k and you're just nuffing him out when your 5/8 doesn't have any buys coming up. So,
Waikato, I must have offended him because he held Piakura. So they're not maybe all ghost teams, but maybe most. Yeah, but in saying that, one guy I was looking at before this game was Samuel Afinu. Now I don't know. I mean, the minutes are there. Like, is he enough to be a front row forward too? Because I was thinking about going May down to Finu this week.
Yeah, because you take away, what do you lose 10 points by going to the bin?
Yeah, 8.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think he's going to average 45 for the rest of the year. So if you're okay with that, then fine. You're paying for that and getting a bit of value.
You're paying for 35 at the moment.
My problem is it's not worth the trade. Like, there's just, like, yes, I'm fine with him being my front row forward too, to answer your first question. Am I going to be doing it? Probably not, because it's not worth the trade.
Yeah. And Cheese makes a good point in the comments here. He did lose 8 points, but you also lose the 10 minutes on the field that he would have racked up points to, and he still finished on a 32. So look, it could have been much worse for him. Absolutely.
So how many minutes did he play?
70. He would have played 80 minutes on the edge minus the bin.
So 32. Yeah, he lost 4 points there.
So he would have been on 40 without the bin. Then you add in potentially maybe an extra 4 or 5 points. So he would have finished on 44, 45, which is exactly what you just said. It's probably what you're going to get from him. I still might play around with it this week. I'll see if I think I do need the cash, but it does seem a little bit sideways to go Terrell May to Samuel Afinu. Like, I feel like as soon as I trade Terrell May out, Robinson will start fucking playing him 50 minutes ago.
I don't think you trade Terrell May. I'm more thinking if you want to get out of like a Liam Henry or somebody like that, that's a better trade.
Yeah, fair shout. What about Xavier Willison, mate? Do you reckon? He scored 37. Payne Haas is back in the team. That was the worry for us with him. Do you reckon he holds from here?
Yeah, like, I think that you pay 37 for somebody that I think he's going to get 40, 35 to 40 every week. If you're okay with that, then fine. But he's not a buy anymore. You missed the boat. So
definitely. All right, mate. Let's move on to the Cowboys match. Panthers beat them by 6. I actually completely missed this game, so I won't have too much insight from a game perspective. Did you?
Well, yeah, Panthers got up. I think they were up 18-0, and Cowboys just went on a run. And Cowboys brought it to within 2, looked really good, and then Panthers just grinded them away, which they're really good at doing. But yeah, both the edges looked really good in attack. Nanai looked phenomenal. And Finafuiaki played really well as well. Val got really good early ball, and even Lolo probably had his best game of the year. He looked fantastic. is
that
one
funny?
of the better 5'8". He just sort of steered him around. But the Cowboys, this is the best I've seen the Cowboys play in this loss.
Yeah, and look, when you get within 6 points against the Panthers, you've done something. And when you score 20 points against the Panthers, you've done something right. Jason Taumalolo scoring 60 at 350k, isn't it kind of like a cheapy Jason Taumalolo now might become an option? He won't, but
No.
it's just nice to see him actually playing decent footy.
Yeah.
Finafuiaki is an interesting one. What's he going to be? He's probably going to be about 400k next week, a little bit over.
Yeah.
I'd probably say there's better options out there than him for a long-term perspective. I think you missed the boat on the majority of the cash gen that you'll get from him.
Yep. Yeah, you can't buy in Finafuiaki anymore. He will not do this every week. Their attack went through their edges, and you know what? They're coaches. They'll change their game plan next week. But Nanai's definitely the better edge front rower there. But in a small amount of minutes, holy moly, Thomas McHaley looked... You should see this guy offload. It's sensational. His arm was free the whole time.
What he got, 25 in...
He only scored 25, but he didn't play that much, and he was the best forward on the park when the Cowboys went on that big run.
Yeah.
He was like... Coach has to see, this sort of happen and go, Thomas McHaley's going to get more minutes. I suppose it's kind of an Xavier Willison situation, except Thomas McHaley doesn't have better front row forwards in front of him. Like, McHaley looked so much better than Neem. So,
yeah, okay. Hopefully this is the game that makes him put his hand up and shows that he's ready for some more responsibility. That'd be great because he becomes then a genuine downgrade option at 238k. It's his first game of the year, so we've got a bit of time to have a look at him. But yeah, he'll definitely feature on the watch list on Tuesday. I'm sure of it. He was our preseason love interest, wasn't he? So let's hope he can keep a bench spot.
My wife held on to him through the first 7 rounds. So there you go.
That's impressive. That's like Skiddy, one of the AFL hosts for Insight. He picked up like 3 players. Like he started with Sean Bloor in week 1, and Bloor didn't play till like round 4. And he started with him. He started with Chevy Stewart as well. Yeah, and Kaylira.
Yeah.
Elite, incredible. But what about Dylan Edwards, man? Like this guy just does not get the respect that he deserves because he's gone another 90 odd. And then, 95. He's also had scores this year of 116, 120, 119, and 89. Like, he's had one score under 56 all season. And no one's talking about him.
It's just the Panthers effect. Like, we expect the Panthers to be this good. Like, we're paying for it, but yeah.
It's Josh maybe seems to think he might be the New South Wales fullback. I don't know whether he can get past Teddy. On form, he should.
I don't know if they'll do it.
I don't think they will. No, if Teddy wasn't the captain and he hadn't been around for this long, like I reckon there'd be a chance. But yeah, I think Dylan Edwards is just going to be waiting in the wings there for a while until Teddy drops back from representative footy. Nathan Cleary with a 51, very kind of lackluster, disappointing. Everyone was backing him for a big one. A lot of people put the captaincy on him, which would have been quite disappointing. No stress though. Like you hold him for the year. It's why we've got him. So not an issue. But talk to me about Isaac Tungle because he got 34. He's about to drop 100k or about 80k. So he's going to be right around that 600 mark. And there's a lot of players around that 600 mark. Ruben Garrick, Jacob Carraz, now Isaac Tungo. Like, who are we picking in the centre wing when we've got this many decent upgrade options now?
I mean, just back yourself and go with your gut. But paying 600k for these guys could be anything. It's like when I paid 600k for Ronnie Mulatalo and now he's touching 800k. All these guys could touch 800Ks. You've just got to get them on at the right time. I think with Cleary back, that will help Targo a little bit. I'm not buying this week, but I was almost locked into buying Targo this week. But now that there's a little bit of leeway now. I'm just going to wait another week and just decide after that.
Yeah, look, Josh isn't keen in the chat. And I get it. Like when you look at his last 4 scores, 47, 32, 58, and now a 34. Like that's at 370k numbers. Like,
Yep.
so what's going wrong? What aren't they doing? I know Cleary wasn't there for 3 of those matches. Do you think Cleary then helps him over the next few weeks come back into some form?
I think when Cleary plays himself into some form, he'll play Isaac Tungo back into some better early ball. Yeah, look, I just think when you have a good Nathan Cleary, you're going to get a good Tungo. For now, let's just wait and see what happens.
Brian To'o also probably bottomed out at 650k.
Yep.
So you've got a couple of options here from a very good Panthers team. Brian To'o every chance of playing Origin though. So it just depends. You've got to have a look at how many Origin players you have, right, in your team. Because you could be hit pretty hard. If you've got Val Holmes, you've got To'o, you've got Cleary, you've got Nico that might get the 6. And then you've got a couple of other guys. You've got Harry Grant, and then you've got Tommy Turbo. Like, there's 6 straight off the top of my head. So there's every chance you could get caught quite short. Anything else in this one, mate, before we move on?
Not really. Isaiah Yo's always good. Don't fall into the trap of thinking Paul Adamoti is an option.
What about Taylor May? If you haven't moved him on now, is it time? Like, I'll put my hand up and say I got it wrong on him because I was saying that he'll come good, and it just doesn't look like he's really going to get any decent ball.
You lost 40k. I'm not calling it a bad decision. I'm calling it a roll of the dice. And yeah, I think it's just time to move him on. But if you've held on to him this long, do you just not play him for that? Because who else are you moving him to, right? You're not making any money. Do you just sit him on the bench and see when Cleary comes back? Then, yeah, you just play May?
Yeah, he could be a centre wing 5, 6 for the season, really.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I don't hate holding him. And also he's starting to lose what's he 400? He'll be 400k, under 400k now. So you've already lost 75, 80k on him. Maybe you just fucking cop that and just hold him on the bench. There's a lot of good chat about Kenty tackling a tree as well. So we won't talk about that too much tonight. But yeah, it's very, very good viewing for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. All right, let's move on. We've got this first game of today. We've got the Dolphins falling just short against the Knights, 18-14. Jermaine Asako comes back to life.
I know it's Anzac round, but can we just have a moment's silence here? Because this is the point in which my Supercoach week went to absolute shit. So just have a moment's silence for my Supercoach team because, yeah, I didn't have anybody score over about 45 after this point in the round. So if you see me go in tears, that's why.
And yeah, this was a weird game because like a lot of the Dolphins players, or for the most part, actually scored pretty well. Zarko 109 had his first decent score of the year, really, and now like 675k. His price has bottomed out. He'll cover his break even now this week. Sorry, I shouldn't say his first relevant score. He's scored kind of well in round 2 and 4, but he's had pretty much like 4 scores under 47. Or sorry, 4 scores under 58, which definitely not what you paid for, but is he now a look? Because we're going to talk about the Dolphins a fair bit, right, over the next 4 weeks because they play those 3 major buys we keep mentioning. So from a draw perspective, it's elite for the Dolphins.
It depends if Herbie's back. If Herbie's not around, then Jermaine Asako is a play. If Herbie's back, we've seen Jermaine Asako struggle to get the ball. So
yeah, and he did score a clump of points right at the end of the game. So like, yeah. I don't know. I still don't think there's enough evidence there for me to consider him when we've got so many other options that are even cheaper now. What about Trey Fuller, though? Because he's going to be the one that we're going to have a million questions about this week, and I'm even thinking about it. Like, is there enough now? His break even is going to be insane. Could even be like negative 100 plus. It'll be like James Schiller territory, potentially even better in terms of cash gen. He could make anywhere between 100 to 150k next week. So, I mean, do we trade out a premium fullback to get him in?
No, because all my fullbacks are a play every week. All my fullbacks are a captain option every week. I'm not willing to let that go. If this guy was centre wing eligible, I 100% would. It's the fullback. And he's not Dream Buller because Hammer's better than him. That's the long and short of it.
But I guess, yes, Hammer's better, and Hammer will go back to fullback. But we got to remember also last year, Hammer played in the centres for the Dolphins at the back end of the season. So is there a chance now around this Origin?
Didn't he only go to the centres when he was coming back from Origin? So they were giving him like a rest in the centres?
I think that's what it was. But also he was playing in the centres for Queensland. So maybe there was just a message there from Billy basically saying, hey, can you get him in the centres? I want him with some more game time in that position, which maybe was the fact. And also the rest, I'd say, is probably relevant. But yeah, the Turbo to Fuller is the question now, because Turbo's kind of scored poorly when we thought he would score well. So you're saying you'd still hold Turbo?
I think so. I don't know. You're nearly talking me around on it, but I just think if I don't have Turbo, I'm just going to want another fullback that's going to be scoring well. I know Fuller's scoring well right now. It's not boost. What are we going to make? 300K in 2 weeks?
Yeah, probably. But also, you're going to have Fuller at fullback for round 13, 16, and 19 because Hammer's going to be at Origin. So you're basically locked in the prize.
But that's 10 weeks. That's 10 weeks without 2 primo fullbacks.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the concern for me, is that I've always paid up at fullback and I've always made sure I've had 2 primos. Aside from Dream Buller last year, he was the first time I've ever done that. I think Josh wants us to mention in the chat that, because he only said it 4 times, that he scored 99 without a try with a team that scored 14 points.
Well, if he wants us to mention it, he should get out of fucking bed.
Yeah. It's tough, isn't it? That fucking man flu, man. You've got to watch out for that. He's right, though. Like, Dolphins were pretty ordinary. It didn't actually score well, and he put up 99. And then last week, he put up, when they scored well, he scored 87. And the stats are insane. Like, when you're looking at what he's done, he's in everything all the time. He's a fucking good player. So, like, he could honestly be a guy that we could make 400K from.
Well, if we're going to make 400K, then maybe it's worth it, because Turbo, will he drop cash this week?
Yeah, he's 30 short of his break even this week.
Yep. Well, he's going to lose that, but will he continue to drop money?
Well, who have they got the next 2 weeks? And let's just assume DCE's out, Hamoli's out, so that kind of hurts him a little bit. Then you're relying on Luke Brooks as the sole playmaker. And let's see if everybody in the Luke Brooks truthers would like to, because everybody was critical of him being he was the best or the number 1 option, and he wasn't a number 1 option at the Tigers, and now he's going to have to be the number 1 option at Manly for a while if DCE misses some time. So let's see how that goes. But they've got Canberra into the Dolphins next 2 weeks. Like, two pretty good matchups coming up. We saw Canberra Raiders now are definitely going to be a team we're going to probably fade because they miss Fogarty so much. We'll talk about that soon. But yeah,
So if you're Jake Arthur and you come in this week, do you want to know what my game plan is? Get Turbo the ball.
Yep.
So
shouldn't that be the game plan anyway?
Yeah, but it's not. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the problem for Turbo is he's going to play Origin.
Yep.
And Josh wants to do a bolter bet that Fuller outscores Turbo now until Hammer returns. Which, 2 more weeks? Maybe more.
I'll take that.
Okay. All right. There you go. Got a live bolter bet. How did your other one go, by the way? You lost one with Hammer, didn't you? So you got to even it up.
Needed severe cramping to get that one over the line.
We're about to lose our fucking SJ bet as well if he misses some time, because that's pretty close at the moment. The 1 week of Sam Hughes and 5 weeks of, was it 5 weeks of Nico versus 6 weeks of SJ? Yeah. So that's actually quite close at the moment. If SJ actually gets some time, I think it's pretty even. Nico caught him back up today.
Yep.
So, mate, Maxi Plath, let's talk about him because he's 73 today, mostly base power. 2RF 5'8" dual. I'm less appealed at 2RF, but 5'8" is tempting. The problem is I don't have Ethan Strange there that I can fucking shuffle up and down. So like I'm limited to either trading out to Murray Martin or Galvin if I wanted to get Plath in, or potentially just going Joe Chan up to Plath. But I have to spend up a fair way, or I could go Lane down to Plath at 2RF that I still don't love. What are you thinking with him?
I don't mind Lane to Plath. I don't mind it. I still think that 5'8" is a position where we can chase a little bit of upside. I know it's been dismal, but Dillbacks could go and score 70 to finish the rest of the year. And Cam Munster is rearing his head a little bit. Even Cody Nikorima, blokes like that. I like Max Plath at second row forward, and I think you just hit the nail on the head with somebody like Sean Lane. Max Plath is getting it with base stats without his tries. I was wary last week because he scored it with his tries. But, yeah, do you think... I think Max Plath is better at second row forward than 5'8".
My only concern, I guess, and yeah, you make a good point about the attacking upside. Like we like to attack the upside in those 5'8" halfback, fullback positions, but he's going to be 460K next week. So it's kind of like a sideways trade to go Lane to Plath. You don't even make money from it.
But it's not sideways because Plath
he's
is
going to continue to make
money. Yeah.
Yeah. So Plath will continue to make money. Probably another negative break-even week for him next week as well. So I get it. And I like Plath as a player. I think he's a really good option. But it's just about who you're going to trade him out to.
Because there were some injuries too, like Kenny Bromwich down in this one. I was listening to it on the radio. I didn't get to catch any of this one. But Kenny Bromwich down too can only help.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It just looks like they've leaned into him being the starting lock, the majority minutes lock. Because we were worried initially about Ray Stone stealing some minutes from Plath. It doesn't look like that's really going to happen to a point of relevance. So, the minutes are there for Plath, the work rate's there. I think he had like a tackle a minute for the first 35 minutes. Like, he just gets through work. So, question from Cheese in the chat about with Plath, would you be playing him at 2RF? Because Strange to Plath gives you the option that when you don't want to play Galvin, you can play Plath. But would you really be playing him at 2RF when you've got so many other high upside attacking options there?
I mean, you're probably playing him on a match-to-match basis at reserve, but I think you can expect 50 to 60, which is not something I've been able to get out of Lane, and I've played him a lot of weeks this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, Josh in the chat, if you want Cam McInnes for 250K less, buy Plath.
Perfect.
But you just don't get the vibes that Cam McInnes can bring you. And vibes are worth points as well. So
yes,
got to keep that in mind. What about, we talked a heap about the Dolphins. What about the Knights here, mate? Dane Gagai is a genuine option now in that centre wing rotation or that centre wing focus that a lot of people are going to have now with players that are bottoming out. He'll be about 650K, maybe a little bit more expensive. Now the goal kicking seems to be with Dane Gagai as well, which makes him a lot more relevant now, right?
Yeah, it's just another one of those guys that you pay 600K for and it should go well, but you can only pick maybe two of these guys this week. You're paying an extra 50K for Gagai, but you're getting the goal kicking. I think that makes it worth it.
But I mean, his goal kicking and the Knights, whilst they just beat the Dolphins by 4 points, are still not convincing.
No.
Like, how confident are you that they're going to score enough points for the goal kicking really to even be a factor?
I think that they can score. They might lose 50-12, but they're still going to score 2 tries.
That extra 8 points for Gagai in base. There you go. But he's got to also kick him. So, but he probably bottoms out too, owned by 1% of teams. So there's the ultimate pod for you.
To be completely honest, Marju isn't scoring them, so they're happening closer to the middle of the field. So, yeah,
that's fair. And the ball seems to be going right a lot more than it is left this year, weirdly. So, and obviously with Ponga out of the team long term, it's very interesting. I'm just looking at Gagai's scores. He's only had one score over 62 before this week, and it was against Melbourne, where he scored 94. My only concern with Gagai is that he misses random games here and there with niggles. Like, he missed round 4 He just missed round 7. Like, is that going to be a recurring thing for Gagai? Like, injuries are a concern for me with him.
Yeah, and it could be. You've got to roll the dice with centre wings, but look, is it really the worst thing in the world if you're playing your Kale Heroes or your these other centre wings that you've got, your Jacob Gagais, like these guys that are sitting there at the bottom? You could just play them.
Yeah, you probably could.
Let's
quickly move on to David Armstrong, because like he looked awesome. He looked very good in his first game. I guess maybe the only issue for us was that job security with I think it's Fletcher Sharp, who is the injured fullback in reserve grade, could potentially be the pick here and isn't playing purely because he's injured. Should we wait? Because Josh has asked, do we go early on Armstrong after that game? Price probably comes back through Reggie's. Like, did you see enough? And he's centre wing eligible.
Look, I saw enough, but I don't pick the team. So I will be waiting because I just think that he could just drop out. And if the Knights win next week or the Knights look really good for the next couple of weeks, then I think he's doing enough to hold his spot. But 80 minutes isn't enough for probably the Knights coach to even have that decision made up. So,
yeah, I probably would wait, to be honest. I think there's just a little bit too much risk. The last thing that I need is another Gagai, Talangi, fucking whoever else it is that comes in, plays one game and pisses off. So I'd want to watch another week for sure and just make sure he's named in round 3 so you at least get the cash. Dylan Lucas, 74 in base power, no attacking stats in this one. He was good. When's Tyson Frizzell due back? Do you know?
I don't. I think it was 4 weeks, a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's not far off then, hey? So that probably makes Dylan Lucas a little bit less exciting. So he got ruled out late in this recent game. So there's every chance he's back next week. So that probably rules out Dylan Lucas.
I know they've been rotating him through the middle a little bit and everything. I think Lucas will still be good, but I don't think he'll be this good.
Yeah. All right. Last game of the round, mate. The big one. The 40-0 drubbing of the Raiders. It wasn't 50, so they're still in the hunt for the title, the Raiders. But it's hard to see them being relevant without Fogarty, and that showed. Joey Tarpany, 58 was the top score for the Raiders in this game. So are we now bailing on all of our Raiders assets? Like Smithy's 45 was fine, but I don't think we're going to see much more than 45, 50 from him week in, week out. We've got Schiller, Savage. Weeks played his first game and looked okay. Chevy Stewart's still not scoring really that well, so kind of doesn't really do much for me. Doesn't move the needle for me. Strange as well, pretty poor. It just showed what Fogarty did for them, right?
Yeah, look, Fogarty was the organizer. Fogarty was the best kicker in the game. I'm bailing on basically everything Raiders right now.
I think you have to. Schiller, 34. He will lose cash for the first time this season. So, and it won't be much. He'll lose like 6K. So now is the time to upgrade him. Or, you can downgrade too if you really wanted to, but I prefer to upgrade. Just depends on what your team looks like at center wing. Because I know I've seen some teams with like 5 primo center wings in it. So you could probably use him as a downgrade in that situation. But for the most part, if you've got like a Val Holmes and an RTS and then, a Schiller and a couple of cheapies, I'd be using that cash to try and upgrade Schiller to one of these 600K guys.
So we only have limited trades. Would you go Schiller or Strange as your first priority trade out?
Probably Strange.
Me too.
It also depends on where you have Strange as well. I feel like Strange to Plath this week could be the most logical move. You're going to still make a little bit of cash from that move as well. And if you play Plath at 5'8", I actually prefer him there. You prefer him at 2RF. I prefer him at 5'8", purely because the base in that position there is solid. He's shown that he can score points. So that could be the move if you had Strange. I'd be moving him on because Strange is going to leak a serious amount of cash now after what's he going to lose this week? He had a break even of 51 and scored 22. So he'll lose 25K. And then next week, his break even is probably going to be up near, I reckon, 80 to 100.
Yep.
So,
no, 100%.
I agree with you.
Let's get rid of Yeah, let's get rid of all of them. Morgan Smithies will probably just continue to churn out 50 for the rest of the year. So do what you will with that. But let's talk about the Sharks and how Nico Hines broke my heart and my Supercoach aspirations.
157. So 2 weeks ago, I'm happy to keep reminding and copying it because I said he's not a permanent captain option anymore. But does that not count anymore because Braden Trindle's out? Because I feel like I'm allowed to redact that comment now that Braden Trindle's not hogging the ball from Nico Hines.
I was not worried about not owning Nico Hines until I saw Trindle was out for at least 4 weeks. So he was the organizer. He was involved in everything. He was that first receiver and everything flowed off him. This is the Nico Hines we know and love. I think he's must own next week.
And you're going to have to pay $100,000 more because that's what he's going to make this week. He's going to be about that 970K mark with his score, and there could be some unicorn points coming his way as well overnight. I reckon Nico just finds ways to shit points out for fun, and when you wake up in the morning, he always has an extra 20. So yeah, be prepared for that. But yeah, look, I think you need him. I think you need to get him. That's why I feel so good about holding Cleary and just holding Nico from the start, even though up until now it's been a bit of a shit show. Hopefully for the rest of the season, they're going to start to repay people that held the faith in him. So does that mean that you'll go and S-trade to Nico next week?
Yeah, that's one of my trades. I think I'm going to have to boost.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm going to have to boost as well, which only leaves me with one. But Josh has 0. Shout out to Josh. He's been trading like
he will not be boosting.
No, he won't be boosting. Jesse Ramey in 111, Sione Katoa 103. Now, I had Ronnie Mulatalo to score 1 try at $1.60. It was my final leg of my multi that would have, I think it was $83 it was paying. I had a tenner on it. And Ronnie Mulatalo, the cheapest of the legs of the multi, didn't get up because all they did was pepper that left edge of the Raiders all night, which was really strange considering the Raiders' right edge defense has actually been way worse than their left.
Yeah, you just got to keep them guessing, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, that's why that right edge fucking killed it.
Can I let you know how good of a better I am? I had Jack Bostock for a double and Ronnie Mulatalo for a double.
Yeah, you're on fire. That's good.
I stopped watching footy.
What was our bet for the start of the week? What do you remember? Fuck, what did I do? Oh, I did Will Warbrick try. Was that right?
Yeah,
I did Will Warbrick try.
And I had Reece Walsh.
Oh, so and then the Tigers 13 plus for Josh missed. So
yes, which I thought.
Anyway, Bretton Nickera 89. Relevant now, right? Like his break even of 80, scores 89, so he's only going to go up maybe 5K. So he'll be about 590K next week. And this is why initially I was thinking my trades were going to be find a downgrade somewhere from someone and then do Lane to Nickera and Schiller up to either Karaz, Tungo, Gagai, one of those guys. I'm just still trying to work out how I'm going to fucking play this all, but I think Nickera is a lock. I think he's one of the trades I'm definitely going to be making this week.
I think I'm going to have to too. He's basically like a cheaper Eli Katoa with... I was waiting to see more from Hines before I jumped on Nickera, and I've seen it now.
Yeah, and Nico's always had that tendency to want to play right. So it'll be very interesting to see. And him and Nickera have one of the best combinations in the comp when they're on. So let's hope that they can continue that because it was good signs. It was enough for me in this game to be able to back in Nickera, I think, to improve from where he's at.
It's a great stack.
It's a very good stack. Yep. Cam McInnes, 77. I mean, you said last week on the show that it might be Cam McInnes season now with Dale Finucane retiring.
He scored a try, though. He's still a 55.
Yeah, that's his first try of the season too. But, I mean, like he's gone 86, 75 and 3 50s and a 46 before today's 77, which is, again, a 50.
He's like a cheaper Isaiah Yeo.
Yeah, I don't mind that. It's a decent comparison. Just gets his work done. Don't really expect really that much from him, but he'll make 50 tackles and score you 55 points. Kale Iro, though, fuck, man, how good is this kid? Like the amount of tough runs he takes out of his own end, tough hit ups. It's always in something. He had a line break today, but for the most part, nearly everything was just in base power. Guy's a jet.
I feel like I need to apologise for Fitzy for sort of saying that this was a dumb move with Talakai. I actually didn't expect him to keep his spot, but he is that good that you are moving one of the best centres in the game to the bench to play edge minutes.
Crazy. Kale Iro is owned by 48% of teams and also was still bought by 4,500 people this week. So if you don't have Kale Iro, is it too late to get on? I saw a couple of comments float in asking that earlier.
No, I don't think it is. I think that you made your mistake. You can rectify it right now by getting him.
He's break even of 2. So he's going to go up another 50 odd K. So he's going to be about 373. He'd probably be 380, which I still think is fine as a purchase, especially now that it's looking like his job security is a bit more solid from what he's been able to do in his first 3-4 games.
I think he's a 500K player.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's probably going to average I reckon he's going to average 55 for the season. Mm-hmm. So that's perfect. You can play on matchups. He's actually my center wing 4 at the moment. I'm happily playing him every single week, just knowing the bases there with the attacking upside on that edge. So yeah, I reckon if you don't have him, it's not too late. And Jamesy AF is asking, he's said in the chat, Iro is a discounted RTS, which very similar game. I've heard him be called Val Holmes Light as well, which is a pretty good comparison without the goal kicking. So anything else in this game, mate?
Just, with them going Katoa's side instead of Ronnie Mulatalo's side, we didn't see the tries, but he just got 50 and did nothing. Like, that's great. If you asked me last week if Ronnie Mulatalo scores a 48, will I trade him out? I would have said yes, but he did nothing, got 48. I'm going to be holding.
Yeah, fair enough. I think, he's got way too much attention. Like, he scored 3 doubles in 3 weeks, and that was eventually going to come to an end at some point. And he still scored 50. Like, in previous years, if Ronnie Mulatalo didn't score a try, he'd score you fucking 23. So, that's a lot of positive signs to take away from this one, I think.
And he only didn't score a try because it was the game plan, not because he was bad. He just didn't get the ball.
Yeah, they peppered that right edge. So, just didn't see anything. Yeah, that's a good point. Mate, before we talk about what we're thinking for next week, shout out to Ryan from Astute Newstead. Now, if you're a homeowner or you want to get into or you want to buy your first home, or maybe you're a current homeowner and you have rates above 6.2%, or you might want to just refinance, renovate, or save some cash like the rest of us, then you can reach out to Ryan at Astute Newstead for an obligation and cost-free inquiry. It won't cost you a thing. His link tree and all of his details are in the description below. You can reach out to Ryan and let him know that we sent you, and he will look after you. And he might even give you some advice in Supercoach, because I think he's still beating me, and he scored 13.48 this week. So the man knows what he's doing. I've just heard his golf swing's a bit dodgy.
Oh, yeah. Can't hit it at all. No good.
What do you think of the next week, mate? What's early trade thoughts at this point in time?
So I was thinking a trade in second row forward, a trade in the centre, and then a trade in the halves. I think I'll have to bring Nico in. The Trey Fuller chat might be turning me around a little bit, in which case I would just hold on to like some of those blokes like Schiller and Bostock another week. But yeah, I think it's definitely a boost week. I held off last week and it didn't pan out. I definitely need to make some trades. It, of course, still means I'm playing Appy. It still means I'm playing Sam Hughes in front row forward. But I will bolster my spots elsewhere, and that's where I'll get the points. So.
Yeah, I need to find one downgrade somewhere. I'm not 100% sure where that's going to come from. I don't feel good about going early on the Knights fullback at this point. I want to see a little bit more before I go on him. The Fuller chat, I've got Turbo. And I do think that out of all the fullbacks, potentially Turbo's maybe the one that could make way, just based on draws and things. But the next fortnight is still so good for Manly. But having no DCE and no Hamoli could hurt Turbo, as much as it also could hurt Garrick. So I'm a little bit worried about that. I still don't really think I can do it. If Fuller comes out next week and brains it, then great. Maybe I'll consider it again next week. But I just feel like maybe I need to see another week. I don't know. Anyway, that could be a massive downgrade, and that could help me free up spots elsewhere. But then I guess the plan for me is just to go Schiller up to one of those centre wings. Yeah, a Carraz, a Gagai, I don't know, one of them, To'o, who knows. So there'll be an upgrade there in the centre wing, and then there will also be an upgrade either Sean Lane or Smithies. I'm not quite sure which one I need to punt first. I reckon maybe Sean Lane needs to go first. What do you reckon? If you had to give me advice on whether I trade Sean Lane or Smithies, who is it?
Yeah, just hold Smithies. I think he's going to get you 50, whereas Sean Lane can get a 20. Sean Lane is more likely of getting an 80 than Smithies, but Smithies is still going to do what Smithies does. Sean Lane just does not look himself out there. Like, we're talking about him getting dropped. I don't think he will get dropped, but yeah, I almost hope that he does at this stage and then comes back a bit better.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're probably right. Anyway, I want to get Nickera. So that's probably where I'm looking at this point in time. Josh ripping into me saying that I should go early on Armstrong. Yeah, you can do that, Josh, and yeah, enjoy that when he gets dropped after fucking 2 rounds and doesn't get a price rise. Josh, let us know what you're going to do. He's in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking for the coming week. I'm sure that he'll be back on Tuesday unless the man flu's gotten him that bad. Josh reckons trade Lane over Smithies. Lane scored a try, got 65.
Yeah, I think trade that.
And he's thrown some D-Lo shade in there as well. He's D-Lo level of arse. So does that mean he's just really good during the season and then shit in the playoffs?
Which is fine for Supercoach.
Yep, fine with me. Mate, that's
Parramatta
just
won't
does
be
us.
playing finals for starters.
No, they definitely will not be playing finals. Mate, that pretty much wraps us up. We've got one quick chat in here, a donation. Thanks, Michael Finch. Pappenhausen downgrade option to Fuller. I mean,
no.
I kind of mentioned earlier, the only fullback I'd maybe consider trading for Fuller would be Turbo. I think the others, or Drinkwater or someone like that. But even Drinky's draw now starts to free up now that they've got that Panthers matchup out of the way. Like, yeah, fuck, maybe I need to consider this Fuller move.
Pappenhausen draw is great, though, when you have a look. They are playing the Gold Coast Titans next week. I am not trading him before that. Into the Sharks, into Parramatta, into Manly. Yeah, I am holding Pappy. Whoever you have as your other fullback might be a better downgrade option than Pappy. I'd be holding Pappy.
Yeah, I think so. But shit, I'm going to have to... Yeah, fuck. Tuesday, honestly, this is going to be the one... I guess main question or main consideration I'm going to have to make this week is in fullback and whether I get Fuller or not, because it could be too much cash to turn down. Like if he's going to go and make like 150 to 200K next week, that's money that is worth a trade regardless of the position, I think.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, that'll be interesting.
Fuck, I don't know. Anyway, yep. So, guys, that'll do us. Sorry we can't get to all the questions tonight, but obviously we'll do the live Q&A on Tuesday for Team List Tuesday. Obviously, if you have any questions for Tuesday, hold them till then. But that'll do. Any final words, Matty, before we wrap this one up?
No, I'll see you all on Tuesday.
Love it. Catch you then, guys. See you Tuesday.
Cheerio.